Let's be honest, few things beat a good burger when you're hungry and tired. It's fast, it's warm, it's satisfying. You roll up, grab the bag, and dinner's done in minutes. That's the magic of fast food. It's not just about taste, it's about convenience. The bun's soft, the cheese melts just right, and for a moment everything feels easy. But behind that comfort, things have changed. Over the years, many burger chains quietly cut corners, cheaper oils, extra sodium, lower quality beef, and a lot less care than they used to give. The flavor still sells the same promise. But the recipe for trust, that's fading. So today we're taking a closer look at 7 of America's biggest burger chains, 5 you might want to avoid at all costs, and 2 that are actually worth your time and money. Because sometimes what we call fast food moves too fast and leaves quality behind. Number 1, Burger King. For decades, Burger King stood for independence. That golden crown meant flame-grilled confidence, a rival daring to be different. Families saw it as the bolder, smokier choice, the one chain that refused to blend into the crowd. But time doesn't always reward legacy. Sometimes it reveals how far a promise can drift. In the early years, Burger King sold simplicity, real beef, cooked over fire, seasoned with little more than salt and pride. It was the rebel of the drive-through age. However, when margins tightened and global expansion became the finish line, the company started trimming where customers couldn't immediately see. Cheaper oils replaced older blends. Frozen patties arrived from farther suppliers. The taste stayed familiar enough for most to miss the difference at first. By contrast, rival chains modernized their supply systems. They began tracking antibiotic use and publishing sourcing reports. Burger King, meanwhile, stayed vague. Its corporate pledges spoke of responsible use instead of firm commitments. That wording sounds harmless, but it's not. It's the gap between intention and evidence, the kind of detail older consumers notice when reading the fine print. The menu didn't change much, yet what's inside did. The Whopper, still the chain's signature, carries roughly 1,100 milligrams of sodium, about half a day's recommended limit before fries or soda even enter the picture. It's not shocking by fast food standards, but it tells a story. Salt and fat now carry the weight once held by smoke and freshness. The grill marks remain. The craft behind them doesn't. Customers began to sense it. Reviews shifted from tastes just like I remember to something's missing. Sales dipped, and newer fast casual brands promised cleaner ingredients without losing convenience. Eventually, Burger King tried to win nostalgia back with rebrands and retro ads. But commercials can't season meat. They can't fix a supply chain that forgot why the flame mattered in the first place. The hard truth for any legacy chain is balance. Modernize too fast and you lose the loyalists. Move too slow and younger diners move on. Burger King leaned on its old identity while quietly letting the fire cool. That's not rebellion anymore, that's retreat. Today, the brand still holds massive reach and recognition. Its breakfast line draws crowds. Its app promotions keep it competitive. But the core product, the burger that built the empire, feels more like a franchise formula than a proud recipe. By contrast, new challengers built on antibiotic-free beef and transparent sourcing are shaping the next chapter of fast flavor. Burger King could still join them. It has the scale, the kitchens, and the audience. What it lacks is the willingness to evolve beyond nostalgia. So next time you see that crown on the menu board, pause before you order. Flip the wrapper, read the numbers. Notice what's actually inside the sandwich that claims to rule them all. Because loyalty at the counter should come with awareness at the table. And that small action, looking twice before the bite, is how we, not the brand, decide what flame still deserves to burn. Number 2, Sonic Drive-In. Engines hum, headlights pull in, trays glide across car windows. For decades, Sonic Drive-In has turned the simple act of eating fast food into a little piece of theater. It feels like summer on demand burgers shakes neon and music all in one place. The chain sells nostalgia with a side of speed, and that energy still draws millions. But when a restaurant builds its identity around motion, it's easy to miss what's hiding under the noise. The first bite of a Sonic burger delivers what it promises: juicy, salty, a rush of flavor. However, that satisfaction comes with a quiet cost. Most of Sonic's core burgers rank among the saltiest in the fast food world. The Supersonic Double Cheeseburger with mayo and ketchup packs around 2,000 milligrams of sodium, almost an entire day's allowance before you even touch the fries. Their garlic butter bacon cheeseburger crosses the same line. Numbers like that don't just mean indulgence, they mean repetition. Meals this heavy on salt and fat keep customers coming back for the same craving loop. not necessarily for taste, but for habit. Meanwhile, Sonic's open-air kitchens make transparency look easy. You see the car hops, the drinks, the bustle, it feels honest. In reality, the supply chain is far less visible. The company still hasn't published any major updates on antibiotic use in its beef, earning a failing grade in national assessments by environmental and consumer watchdogs. The marketing stays bright and cheerful, but the sourcing stays quiet. It's a split personality, one side shouting fun, the other avoiding detail. Still, people love Sonic for what it offers: a drive-in that feels alive and escape from the routine of modern drive-thrus. And that part is genuine. The brand mastered convenience long before mobile apps made it normal. But convenience without balance becomes addiction, not loyalty. When everything tastes like a good time, no one asks how it's made. The company leans on that nostalgia heavily. Ads highlight vintage scenes, roller skates, families sharing milkshakes under fluorescent light. Yet behind that retro joy sits an outdated nutritional philosophy. A burger here can carry over 1,000 calories, and combo meals can easily double that. It's less about indulgence and more about inertia, a menu built to move fast, not to evolve. However, the fix isn't complicated. Sonic could keep its charm and still cut the excess. Smaller buns, fresher oil, simpler toppings, none of these changes would erase the brand's personality. They'd just make it honest again. Other chains have proved it's possible. Stay fun, stay fast, and still care about what goes in the food. But Sonic hasn't taken that turn yet. It continues to race on nostalgia, powered by sugar, salt, and memory. And maybe that's the irony: the chain that built its name on speed now risks being outrun by the very idea it invented. Because in the race for flavor, Sonic never lost its sound, it just lost its balance. Number 3, Carl's Jr. Hardee's. At first glance, everything about Carl's Jr. and Hardee's feels like celebration. Thick bacon curls and slow-motion cheese drips in glossy ribbons, and the commercials promise bigger, bolder, better. These are burgers meant to be conquered, not merely eaten. Yet behind the spectacle of indulgence lies a quiet problem, one built not from flavor, but from excess. The story of these twin chains has always been about size: bigger patties, taller stacks, double meat, double cheese, double sauce. It worked for decades, feeding the image of a brand unafraid to satisfy. Moreover, in a culture that rewards abundance, more became the easiest message to sell. But the modern plate tells a different story. The double Western bacon cheeseburger now carries around 2,050 milligrams of sodium, while the Monster Burger pushes 2,500. That's more salt than many people should eat in a full day, packed into a single sandwich. Even then, the advertising tone never changed. The burgers still hit the screen with sizzling confidence, framed as rebellion against bland diets. On the surface, it's clever marketing indulgence as identity. In reality, it's an outdated formula that treats excess as a virtue and moderation as weakness. And while that message once thrilled younger audiences, today it mostly exhausts them. The visual still sells, but the appetite for overload doesn't. Hardee's and Carl's Jr. share more than a logo style. They share a nutritional problem that mirrors their corporate one: too much added, too little refined. The menu is vast, but transparency is thin. Ingredients are disclosed, but sourcing remains vague. The sodium levels are public, but sustainability reports are shallow. It's not deception, it's neglect, and the numbers speak louder than any slogan. Moreover, the brand's attempt to modernize often stops at packaging or promotions, not the food itself. Hand-breaded chicken made from scratch biscuits, premium Angus beef. Each phrase sounds reassuring until you compare the actual composition. Calories, sodium, and fat hover far above competitors in the same category. A burger and fries combo can cross 1,500 calories before dessert. That's not an occasional treat. That's an entire day's energy consumed in 20 minutes. Still, there's something almost admirable about how boldly the brand commits to its theme. It doesn't hide its decadence, it flaunts it. But that confidence left unchecked becomes a caricature. In a market now defined by health-conscious millennials and aging boomers tracking sodium on their phones, bigger doesn't sound brave anymore, it sounds stubborn. The irony is that Carl's Jr. and Hardee's already have the foundation to adapt. Their kitchens are flexible, their flavor profiles strong, and their brand recognition solid across regions. A simple shift, smaller portions, cleaner labels, honest marketing could revive the very appeal that excess has eroded. The promise of pleasure doesn't need to disappear, it just needs to mature. Because taste isn't the enemy of health. The real enemy is complacency. When indulgence outgrows appetite, satisfaction shrinks. And if these two chains ever choose to serve less, they might finally offer more. Number 4, Jack in the Box. Another recall, same name on the headline. For anyone who remembers the early 1990s, that name still carries a chill. In 1993, Jack in the Box faced one of the deadliest E. coli outbreaks in American fast food history. 4 children died, hundreds were hospitalized, and the brand nearly collapsed. 3 decades later, it is supposed to be a lesson in vigilance. But some lessons, it seems, fade too easily. Today, Jack in the Box sells personality more than product. The clown mascot cracks jokes, the ads lean on self-aware humor, and the menu prides itself on whatever whenever. It is fast, quirky, and irreverent by design. Still behind that playful image, the company's food safety and sourcing record remains uneven. Its beef supply comes from large-scale processors, and its antibiotic policy has repeatedly earned failing grades from consumer advocacy groups tracking corporate progress. Responsible use is the vague promise again. But in an era when transparency is the bare minimum, vagueness is not charm, it is warning. By contrast, several of Jack's competitors, from Wendy's to McDonald's, have moved toward measurable antibiotic reporting and limited-use programs. Jack in the Box, in fact, has not published new benchmarks since the middle of the last decade. It is not negligence exactly, it is inertia. And inertia is how risks grow quietly until they make headlines again. Nutritionally, the picture does not brighten. The Ultimate Cheeseburger delivers about 820 calories and roughly 1,200 milligrams of sodium before sides. The Bacon Double Jack climbs higher, brushing 1,500 calories once you add fries and a drink. The company markets variety tacos, chicken sandwiches, breakfast, even mini churros, but the variety hides sameness, heavy oil, high sodium, and long ingredient lists. Fun food, serious toll. In recent years, the chain has tried to reframe its identity. New menus highlight late-night options and snackable portions for younger crowds. That strategy works on paper, it taps into convenience and culture. But in practice, the same structural problems persist: no clear sourcing disclosure, little nutritional reform, and a brand voice that laughs louder than it listens. Still, Jack in the Box deserves credit for survival. Most brands would never recover from a crisis as deep as the one in 1993. They rebuilt, they rebranded, and they made safety part of the training manual. Yet resilience is not the same as renewal. The industry has changed around them: more public scrutiny, more detailed labeling, and a generation that reads ingredients before prices. Jack in the Box jokes about being unpredictable, but unpredictability in food is not a virtue. Eventually, every company that trades on nostalgia must decide what it wants to keep: the flavor or the habit. Jack in the Box still sells both. But one of them expired a long time ago. So the next time you see that smiling mascot on a billboard, remember what came before the punchline. Look past the humor and ask the serious question the brand keeps dodging. When a restaurant becomes known for its jokes instead of its standards, how long before the laughter stops? Number 5, McDonald's. Every country has one. The golden arches curve above highways, airports, and small-town streets like universal signposts for something simple, predictable, and safe. For decades, McDonald's hasn't just sold food, it has sold reliability. You know, the smell, the crunch, the pace. The fries taste the same in Chicago, Tokyo, or Paris. That consistency made it the most recognizable restaurant on earth. But in a world that is changing faster than ever, consistency without evolution is a risk disguised as stability. In the early years, McDonald's built its empire on efficiency. Every bun, every slice of pickle, every second at the fryer was measured. It was a factory of flavor and discipline. That precision turned one location into tens of thousands. As noted in decades of business studies, McDonald's became a blueprint for scale. Beyond that, it became a cultural anchor, the meal you could trust to behave the same anywhere, even when nothing else did. However, when your brand becomes the global symbol of familiarity, change starts to feel like betrayal. And that's where the problem began. The chain has announced new sustainability and sourcing goals nearly every decade. Some real progress has been made: cage-free eggs commitments on paper to cut emissions, pilot programs for regenerative farming. But on the topic that matters, most beef quality and antibiotic use, the company's pace is glacial. Its current policy, last updated in the mid-2020s, focuses on monitoring antibiotic use in 10 key markets. That sounds reassuring until you notice what's missing: measurement, enforcement, and clear reduction targets. In other words, a promise without proof. Still, to its credit, McDonald's is not standing still in marketing. Plant-based items, fresh beef quarter pounders, and new digital loyalty programs all aim to refresh the brand's image. Yet nutritionally, the menu remains almost unchanged. A quarter pounder with cheese carries roughly 1,100 milligrams of sodium. A Big Mac adds nearly the same. Fries and a soft drink double that total. A typical combo still exceeds half of an adult's daily salt limit. That's not innovation, that's inertia dressed in sesame seeds. Beyond the numbers, there's another kind of weight, the cultural one. McDonald's has become so embedded in daily life that criticism feels personal. Parents who grew up with Happy Meals now buy them for their children. Communities depend on its affordable menus and 24-hour service. The chain's importance is real, but so is the cost of that comfort. When a brand dominates an industry for 70 years, it shapes public health more than any regulation can. However, not every pattern is inevitable. Around the world, smaller competitors have proven that fast can coexist with clean. European chains have published full sourcing audits. Asian markets have adopted antibiotic-free poultry. Even within the United States, several regional brands have quietly overtaken McDonald's in ingredient transparency. Still, the giant moves at its own pace, one internal memo, one committee, one cautious step at a time. The company calls it responsibility. Consumers might call it hesitation. McDonald's defenders argue that scale makes reform slower, and that's true. Feeding 60 million people every day leaves little room for sudden shifts. But scale also means power to set standards others will follow. When that power is used to maintain the status quo, it doesn't preserve trust. It prevents progress. Familiarity becomes a shield against accountability. The irony is that McDonald's could lead the next chapter of fast food if it wanted to. The infrastructure exists. The money is there. The public would celebrate it. What's missing is urgency. Because while the menu stays still, expectations keep rising. And every time the world asks for cleaner food, clearer sourcing or lower sodium silence becomes an answer of its own. McDonald's still stands tall, a monument to predictability. But predictability without adaptation is not safety, it is stagnation. And the numbers say it plainly: one chain, one brand, tens of thousands of restaurants, and almost no nutritional progress in nearly 10 years. That's not the future of fast food. That's a reminder of how easy it is to forget to grow. After 5 chapters of heavy truth, we've seen the cracks in convenience, the shortcuts, the excess, the habits that once fed us, but no longer fit us. Yet the story doesn't end there. Across the same industry, a few chains are quietly proving that speed and integrity can share the same plate. They cost a little more, they move a little slower, but they show what fast food can become when quality leads instead of follows. Because the problem isn't burgers, it's choices. And now it's time to see the ones getting it right. Number 6, Shake Shack. The camera brightens again. Sunlight cuts across a stainless steel counter. You hear the faint hiss of meat meeting heat, not hidden behind a wall, but right in the open. That is the first thing you notice at Shake Shack. Nothing feels concealed. Every sound, every movement, every plate says the same thing: this is how fast food can look when it decides to stay honest. Shake Shack began as a food cart in New York City in the early 2000s, just a few grills under an open pavilion. It was never supposed to become a global brand. Yet it grew not through speed or advertising volume, but through clarity. Its founders bet on a simple equation: high-quality beef, transparent sourcing, clean kitchens, and a friendly rhythm that made eating quick feel good again. In fairness, that decision changed the conversation about fast food altogether. While older chains buried sourcing policies deep in corporate PDFs, Shake Shack posted them in plain view. Their beef is 100% Angus raised without hormones or antibiotics. Their chicken meets better chicken commitment standards. Their milk and eggs come from verified, humane suppliers. Beyond that, the company publishes annual Stand for Something Good reports detailing animal welfare, sustainability, and carbon impact, not in corporate jargon, but in readable, everyday language. That matters because transparency is not just a word on their website, it is a routine you can see at the counter. Likewise, the food itself reflects that simplicity. Buns are soft, but not oily. Sauces are portioned for balance, and the fries taste like potatoes, not chemistry. Calories are still calories. A burger here is not a salad, but you can pronounce the ingredients. Even the menu design feels cleaner, shorter names, fewer gimmicks, no wild limited-time stunts. It is confidence without noise, and still people line up. Because when the flavor earns the attention, the marketing can relax. Of course, no company is perfect. Shake Shack is expensive compared with its rivals and expansion tests every ideal. A restaurant that began with local beef now sources internationally, and a brand that prides itself on quality must constantly defend it as volume grows. Beyond that, fast casual competitors have started adopting the same language, clean, real, honest sometimes, without the same backbone. Yet Shake Shack remains distinct because it documents progress. Its website lists each supplier category, its sustainability reports admit where goals are missed, and its leadership speaks about ethics as operations, not slogans. That level of candor keeps the light from dimming. In the end, Shake Shack represents more than a restaurant, it is a demonstration. A proof that transparency is not bad for business, that quality can survive at scale, and that customers are willing to wait an extra few minutes if they believe in what they are buying. The line outside their stores is not just hunger, it is trust rebuilt through consistency. So when you compare it to the 5 chains before, the contrast feels like a breath of air. No hidden oil vats, no overloaded sodium charts, no slogans trying to drown out the silence. Just food made openly, served with purpose. Because good taste doesn't start in the kitchen, it starts in the choices behind it. Number 7, BurgerFi. No hormones, no antibiotics, real beef. That's the first line you see when you visit BurgerFi's website, printed in bold green type above a photo that looks more like a farmer's market than a franchise. It's not a slogan, it's a statement of proof. Because when a restaurant makes a promise that's specific, it either keeps it or it disappears. BurgerFi began in Florida a little over a decade ago, born from the same fast casual wave that turned burgers from drive-through fuel into a craft again. The founders built it around one rule: if you can't trace it, don't serve it. Every patty uses beef from cattle never treated with antibiotics or hormones. The buns are baked without preservatives. Even the restaurants are built with recycled wood and low-energy lighting. For once, the image of green dining actually matches what's happening in the kitchen. That clarity is what separates BurgerFi from most of its larger rivals. In contrast, national chains spend millions convincing customers they care about ingredients. BurgerFi just lists them. Their website breaks down beef sourcing, bun suppliers, and even the recycling percentage of their store materials. It doesn't sound dramatic, but in a market where clean label often means marketing first and substance second, that kind of plain honesty feels radical. The food itself follows the same logic. A BurgerFi cheeseburger is simple, about the size of your hand, wrapped neatly cooked to order with nothing pretending to be more than it is. The sodium is still there, the calories are still there, but they live inside real food, not a chemistry set. Each item has a nutrition chart one click away. At least here the numbers are not hidden behind nostalgia. They're part of the offer. Because BurgerFi doesn't try to compete in scale, it competes in consistency. While giants chase quarterly margins and menu gimmicks, this smaller chain invests in credibility, verified beef cage-free eggs, fresh-cut vegetables, and clear disclosure. They don't call it premium, they call it normal. That's the quiet revolution, redefining what ordinary should mean in fast food. The company's growth tells the story. From a few Florida spots to roughly 100 restaurants nationwide, BurgerFi has stayed selective. They franchise slowly, train heavily, and inspect supply chains frequently. It's a deliberate pace that might frustrate investors but reassures customers. The goal isn't to dominate, it's to endure. And endurance in this business may be the rarest luxury of all. Still, the challenges are real. Costs run higher, margins thinner, and expansion risks diluting what makes the brand special. Transparency works only as long as it's maintained. The moment quality slips, the promise unravels. Yet a decade in BurgerFi remains steady. Its commitment to no antibiotic beef has held. Its menu still fits on one page. And in an industry addicted to novelty, sticking to the basics might be the most daring act left. For consumers, BurgerFi is more than another burger joint. It's a reminder that better fast food doesn't have to mean fancy, just honest. You order, you watch it cook, you eat it while it's still warm, and you leave without the aftertaste of questions. Maybe that's what progress looks like now, not faster, not cheaper, just clearer. Because when the label matches the kitchen, honesty becomes habit, and maybe that's the future fast food really needs. The smell of a burger will always mean comfort. That part doesn't need to change. What needs to change is what that comfort costs to our health, to the planet, to the truth behind the counter. We've seen the worst and the best, the shortcuts and the slow climbs back to integrity. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. The future of food isn't about removing pleasure, it's about earning it. Because somewhere between speed and sincerity, there's a balance waiting to be found, a way to make fast food that still feels human. We can ask better questions, choose better meals, reward better brands. Each small choice adds up. So next time you pass that glowing sign, pause for a second. Remember what you've learned here, and maybe, just maybe, order something that reflects the kind of world you'd like to live in.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.